Patrick Dixon, The Future of Almost Everything, The Global Changes That Will Affect Every Business and All Our Lives. Welcome to the summary of The Future of Almost Everything, where Patrick Dixon explores the powerful global changes that will shape the future of business and our lives. Within this summary, you will discover how the powerful political trend of democracy has evolved through the years, the role of technology in fostering it, and how it differs from liberty. Examine the origins of liberty, the impact of capitalism, and how weak economic development threatens it. Learn about illiberal democracies like Russia and China, and the challenges of democracy in the Middle East. This engaging summary of The Future of Almost Everything will present you with illuminating insights into the ever-evolving political landscape.
The rise of democracy. Democracies have become the trend globally over the last century. What started with no country allowing all citizens to vote became a wave of democratization currently flattening hierarchies and distributing economic power across the masses. The power behind democratization lies in technology, wealth, expanding middle class, the fall of communism, and America's rise. However, democratization has reduced the power of the state, leading to increased terrorism and smuggling worldwide. Liberty is no longer guaranteed in most democratic countries, leading to a struggle between democratization and centralized state power. The rise of liberty. The origin of liberty can be traced to the rise of the Christian Church in Rome after 324 AD. The Christian Church prospered and gained public control, eventually becoming powerful enough to influence the state. As the Church grew stronger, the aristocracy also developed unchallenged, leading to a conflict with the king. This led to the Magna Carta and the establishment of individual liberties. Capitalism intensified tensions between social and political classes, allowing families to hold money and pass it to their heirs, leading to the growth of a middle class. By 1776, England's advances had migrated to America, where the basics of consumerism, entrepreneurship, and liberal democracy were already in place. Wealth and democracy. Weak economic development poses the greatest threat to liberty worldwide, while wealth links to liberal democracy, as wealthy countries tend to have a developed middle class and a business community that are independent of political sponsorship. The social scientist, Seymour Martin Lipset, discovered a correlation between wealth and liberal democracy. Many studies have found that per capita income is directly related to a country's new democracy's longevity. Rich democracies become immortal because wealth provides a power base for the middle class and business community independent of political or state sponsorship. As a state's wealth increases, it relies more on formalized laws and becomes more responsive to society's general needs. Contrarily, some past nations placed the state above society, democracy above constitutionalism, and equality above liberty, and they lost their liberties. Poorly developed economies pose a significant threat to liberty. When compared to better-off nations, countries like Romania, Belarus, Bulgaria, Croatia, Malaysia, Turkey, Morocco, Tunisia, and Iran now have a higher per capita income that would enable them to develop democracies. While each country has its political baggage, liberalizing a nation's economy can lead to liberal politics, as is happening in China. Though the Communist Party still controls political power, China has opened considerable parts of its economy to capitalism, leading to unprecedented growth. However, the government still maintains its tough political position to control change and prevent disorder, as seen during the Tiananmen Square massacre. Modernizing Russia and the Challenges of a Liberal Democracy. The book discusses the challenges of modernizing a rich country that lacks a proper social and economic infrastructure to produce public services. The case of Russia is used as an example, where the state owned most of the economy, thereby not compelling citizens to pay taxes and produce public services. As a result, the state resorted to building a huge defense industry, supported proxy communist governments across the Soviet sphere, and brutally crushed dissenters. Under Putin's presidency, the state has increased its power, and press freedom is restricted. The book also highlights the challenges of the illiberal democracies of China and Russia, where elected leaders become popular autocrats with no check on their powers. Many Arab governments in the Middle East are intolerant, abusive, and reliant on corruption, but they are still better than the fundamentalist regimes that might replace them if they fell. Some Muslim fundamentalists reject democracy, considering it a Western form of government that should be replaced by Muslim theocracy. Arab leadership and the Islamic worldview. The Muslim world has fallen behind the West due to a lack of representative elections and elected legislative bodies in Muslim history. Osama bin Laden and Ayman Zawahiri fill this vacuum by accusing their respective countries of violating Islamic law. Arab economies are dependent on natural resources, leading to a lack of public pressure for political reform, accountability, and basic public services. Arab leaders resort to anti-Semitism and incite their people against Israel and the West as a way to deflect attention from their political and economic shortcomings. However, to counteract Islamic fundamentalism, Arab leaders should encourage economic reform, constitutional liberalism, and WTO membership. Iraq and Egypt are best suited for reform, but democratic reform is difficult and takes time. Rushing to hold elections in countries without the necessary infrastructure for liberal democracy will only lead to reactionary elected regimes. It takes years to develop a tradition of constitutional liberalism, and Arab leadership needs to focus on restoring balance between democracy and liberty.
In conclusion, The Future of Almost Everything unveils the many dimensions and nuances of democracy and liberty, and how society has shifted due to these driving forces. The proliferation of democracy has shaped the world in unprecedented ways, but it is essential to distinguish it from liberty. Across both historical and modern examples, the summary demonstrates that wealth creation and economic development play a significant role in fostering democracy and liberty. Moreover, it addresses the challenges of illiberal democracies like Russia and China and the need for reform in the Middle East. Packed with compelling insights, this summary has provided a comprehensive understanding of the global trends that impact business, politics, and our lives.